Your rent is in arrears and you get a dreaded note on your door demanding that you vacate the premises, otherwise known as an eviction notice. Well, here to explain what your rights are is Cody Tedemer, staff attorney for Charleston Pro Bono Legal Services. It's good to have you, and I think at a time when it is incredibly important and timely. We're just coming off of the expiration of the CDC's mandate that allowed tenants to stay within their rented space despite paying or not. But that's now since expired, is that right?
Yes, correct. That has expired quite a couple months ago, so tenants need to be aware, because we do see tenants who quite often thought that those protections were still in place.
Yeah.
They had time to come current on rent through other means. But yeah, those protections are no longer in place.
It certainly helped, though, during the height of the pandemic, because when people weren't able to go out and work, well, they weren't bringing home a paycheck. So you can't just put people out on the street if the whole world is shut down. So this actually protected a lot of people. But those protections are now gone, and people are expected to pay every single month. But you, before the pandemic, say that South Carolina, well, they're ahead of the game when it comes to the number of eviction notices.
Yeah, unfortunately, South Carolina is a state, Charleston County as a county, North Charleston, the city, often lead the nation in eviction filings, eviction rates. So the CDC eviction moratorium did protect many, many tenants during that time. Now those protections are no longer in place, so we're kind of back to pre-pandemic protections.
Why does South Carolina rank so high when it comes to eviction notices?
There are a number of factors. I don't think maybe one is necessarily the single cause, but there are a number that combined. Mm-hmm. There is a lack of affordable housing in Charleston County and the state. Our laws are quite outdated. They were written in the 80s. There haven't been a lot of changes to the tenancy laws to update them and offer more tenant protections. A pandemic has occurred. I mean, there are a number of things that all mixed together kind of create a situation where there's a lot of risk for a tenant.
And when you come across a client, they say, look, I can't afford my rent. I don't want to be thrown out on the street. Help me. So how do you step in? What do you do?
So there's a lot of organizations that offer rental assistance. There's a lot of resources out there. Offices like my office, Charleston Pro Bono Legal Services, we're adding housing attorneys to try to step up and meet the moment. Mm-hmm. Because if the laws of the state aren't changing or aren't changing fast enough, there's going to have to be other organizations, legal or not, that step up to meet the moment.
So there really is no change in the law, no recourse they actually have with the landlord, at least not at this time. It's just a place to find some money to pay your rent.
Yeah, so there's a lot of organizations, whether they're independent organizations, grant-funded organizations, or even county programs such as Charleston County Emergency Rental Assistance Program that offer rental assistance, and each one may have different requirements based on perhaps income or location, things like that. But because we, as a legal aid office, don't have rental assistance, we just try to get people pointed into the right direction.
I see. Now, this is how South Carolina differs from other states, is what we were talking about before we got started, is that there are some states that are very tenant-friendly, but then you run into the problem of squatters. So it's trying to find a very delicate balance there, that you're not allowing people to stay indefinitely in a place where they really can't afford, but then again, giving them a little bit of breathing room when they run into hard times. Do you foresee any changes in the law? Is there anything in the works?
So there are a number of proposed changes, I believe, but they haven't come to fruition yet, haven't been passed yet. But there's certainly, we would certainly benefit from some changes.
All right, well, we'd like to link our audience to your site so that people can find out what those organizations are and where they can find some help. Cody, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem, thank you.
We're back in 2 minutes.